Welcome to the Shuffle Curious podcast. I'm your host, Patty Lynch. Have you ever seen an amazing shuffler at a show or festival and wondered, how did they get started? How did they develop their skills? And who are they beyond the dance floor? Well, that's exactly what we're exploring in the show. We'll dive into the personal experiences of the dancers that make up our beloved community. We'll be learning more about who they are and what makes this dance so special to them. So, with that, let's jump into the show and let's get curious together. This is a Shuffle Curious Flow Showcase. All right. How are you?
Hello.
It is awesome to have you on for the first ever Shuffle Curious Flow Showcase.
Oh, yeah.
And we had an amazing time at Cheeseman Park today, filming you doing a flow set. A flow run. I don't know, what do they call them?
I guess a run.
Yeah, it's like a run. Yeah.
Just flow.
We can put a shuffle-ism in there, you know what I mean? But it's very cool that, you've already been on the show in the nature of talking about your shuffle journey. So it'll be very cool to talk about your flow journey, because that actually started first, and that was the precursor to a shuffle journey. You know what I mean? Being a part of the flow community, you then had exposure to the shuffle community. So I almost feel like this is you paying homage to, you know what I mean, the flow community and how it brought you to shuffling and whatnot.
Truly.
So, when you started, I mean, there was probably a backstory to, the moment that you started flowing and like the origins of it. But like leading up to that, and we talked a little bit about this in our previous interview, what were some of the things that might have primed you for, picking up your first flow toy and starting to actually wield it and want to express yourself through those means?
I feel like just being a dancer in general just kind of like threw me into that path, especially like going to raves, and I was like really big in like the dubstep scene and like going to like the heavy stuff, and a lot more flow artists go to those events. So I was constantly like seeing people doing it, so there wasn't necessarily like a moment where I was like, I need to pick a hula hoop up, my best friend at the time, her name is Julia. She was an amazing flow artist, and she inspired me so much. And once I started hanging out with her more, like I just saw what she was doing and saw like how it like unlocked this creative outlet within her, and she's so talented at it. And I was like, I want to do that. I need to pick up a hoop and try. And so like I ordered like my first practice hoop, which you were actually playing with today. It's my clear one. I ordered that and just started practicing. I'd have parties at my house all the time, like with all the like DJ equipment and the lights on. So like I would just like pick up my hoop and try to do like isolations and stuff. Kind
of how I was doing today, very poorly, but
basically like you were me in that moment. No, like it was genuinely like it was very slow start, but having her around definitely really helped me. And because we spent so much time together, I feel like it kind of like shot me into like this whole world of what we do now. And I just fell in love, and it just went from there.
So that was very much your origins. Yeah. It's just, having that unspoken peer pressure of, seeing a friend being competent with flow toys. Whether was she mostly doing hooping, and that's why you kind of gravitated towards that?
Yeah, and like just the way that people can move with a hoop, it's a lot more like sensual almost. Like you feel very like feminine and like in tune with yourself. Not saying that men can't do it, but like it's very like the flow art in hooping is very unique compared to like a lot of the other arts. And I think that's what attracted me so much. It like made me center myself a lot more, and I was like getting into like meditation and yoga and like just feeling my body a lot more in that moment. And so I feel like that's why I gravitated towards it more. For sure.
Do you think that there's any other flow toys that you kind of had that same relationship with? Like it sounded like there's with hooping there's a feminine nature to it, and I've seen some guys do hooping and like they put a masculine touch on it, but I can see that kind of resonates with me, because when I see someone hooping, it's very much, I think it's because like you can very much use your hips with it. Like you can control the hoop with your hips and like that. I feel like that has a very feminine essence to it. But are there any other flow toys that kind of spoke to you when you first started out because of that, or another reason?
I think so. Like also like my fans, it's the same thing. Like they're very like sexy, and like I can do like a lot of like body movements with them, and so I think that's what drew me to those. That and like even Levy wand, like because of like how like you have to move around your body and navigate like the string on it. Like it's like you have to move a lot with your wand. I'd say that those three, actually, wait, more. There's more.
Wait.
No. Also my pixel whip. Pixel whip, because you're like dragging it along your body. And like, I feel like it's not so much like feminine in the way that we think of femininity. Like it's more so just being in tune with yourself and your body. And like, I feel like that's what I think of when I think of feminine. It's just like being able to feel what you're doing and like just let that flow happen. I mean, it's flow art. So like bringing you to a flow state, it's just a more feminine quality, I think, which everyone has within them. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Pretty much everything.
No, that's awesome. It seems like you like to be very engaged with the flow toy that you're using, you know, and to have it be a full body type of experience as you're talking about. So when you started, kind of what did that look like? What was your progression? And you know, like you're laughing because it probably wasn't pretty. Like it's never pretty. I remember when I was learning poi, you know, smacking myself in places that you shouldn't smack yourself, you know what I mean? Like kind of maybe getting like a little bit concussed here and there because my contact poi hit the back of my head or whatever. So it doesn't, you know, I'm sure there were some challenges to that, but what did your first, you know, couple months of trying this look like?
The same thing. A lot of hitting myself in the face, in the head, like dropping it. Like it's not a like graceful thing at first. I mean, again, with shuffling, it's the same thing. Like it's just, you gotta navigate around yourself and like thinking so much. Like you can't think so much. That's why it's flow again. Like it's entering that state of that you're not thinking as much and you're just feeling. And so it was definitely not pretty. It was very long, like a long process. Again, like my friend Julia was very helpful and she taught me so many things. And like that helped me like move into that flow state. And like, cause I was thinking so much about like, oh, what combos can I learn? What can I like do to like bring this all together? And I was thinking too much about it. And once I just like, I don't know how long it necessarily took me. I think there might've been like a run that like really just hit me and I was like, oh, this clicked finally of like, I know how to kind of center myself a little bit more. But definitely a few months of just trial and error. I wanted to give up a lot. And I think going to shows a lot helped in bringing my hoop with me. Cause I mainly just hooped for like the first like few years and then like started slowly picking up more things. But yeah, it was definitely a lot of shows helped in festivals. Like I went to Electric Forest. That was like my first like really, really big festival. And going there with my hoop was definitely like a turning point for me. I was like, wow, I love being able to move to this music in a way that like I never thought I could, you know? Like I felt very centered and it was awesome, so.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, when they find shuffling, have that same sentiment. It's like before you were just going to a concert and, you know, head banging, fist banging, whatever you wanna call it. And then as soon as you have an outlet for you to be able to express that, whether that be the flow arts or shuffling or another dance, you know, insert whatever, something that you can preoccupy yourself with as you're enjoying your music and having it be that outlet of expression. I think it's such a game changer. And it's probably when you have that hoop or that flow toy on you, like during that festival, like you're incentivized just to pick it up and to, you know, just even if it's one of those things where you're still enjoying the music. You can kind of do it on a little bit on autopilot. You know what I mean? In the background, like I brought my poi to Movement. We were in the same Airbnb at Movement last weekend, and I brought my poi like for 2 of the days. And sometimes I was just like kind of. No, I wouldn't say bored of shuffling, but I was just like, I've been getting after it for I like 2 sets straight of just only shuffling. I was just like, I just want to spin a little bit of poi. You know what I mean? Just have some fun in that regard. So I think it's fun to be able to have that capability at a show to, whether that's detaching from a dance that you're doing or just to kind of let your mind wander and flow around. It's just one of those things. I thoroughly enjoy just having that in my back pocket. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Something else. So you're still moving around and like being able to engage with people and your environment and the music, but you're still able to keep moving and you don't have to just like sit down and be bored.
Yeah. and the thing is like, for those who shuffle, probably the wide audience that's viewing this, it's like you can only shuffle like a minute at a time. Like you can, but when we were out in Cheeseman Park, like you flew away. You were flowing.
I was flowing.
You were flowing to a whole song. You know what I mean? Like it was like a 4-minute song, and even though you're like, I could still see that it was not exhausting, but. You were exercising for sure. Mm-hmm. It's something that you can do for a longer time, and it probably gives you a better chance at hitting a flow state. You know what I mean? After, whether that be at minute 1, minute 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? That sort of thing.
It's a lot different in that way for sure. Like because of the length that I can, because it's not so fast paced all the time. Because I feel like with shuffling, a lot of the time that we're out and about, like it's usually to faster paced music. A good amount of BPM to it, and so like a lot of the music that I've flew have flown to question mark.
They understand. Whoever.
Like a lot of that music is slower paced, or at least has like a drop that I feel like you can just feel, that just kind of powers you through into a flow state too. It's like a lot different. It's a different feeling for sure compared to shuffling, but it still goes hand in hand with like feeling the music.
100%. And so you started flowing before you started shuffling. Mm-hmm. How did you feel like your experience with the flow arts kind of helped you when you started shuffling, or did it? Is there a correlation there, like it kind of helping, whether it be your creative process or your mind body connection? Do you think you kind of had a leg up when you started shuffling?
In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. Because of the like beat difference, I guess. But I think it definitely helped like get out of my head, like the mind body connection for sure. Like in just being a dancer in general, like knowing how to move in certain ways, like definitely helped me navigate. Knowing counts, like just from dance, like helped, and just like understanding music in that way. But I don't think it necessarily gave me a leg up because it's such a different type of movement. But it did help elevate my style, I think, because I took so long like in flow arts in themselves. I kind of developed my own movement for myself. And so I think that makes me a little bit more unique, I guess. And I can add things together if I want to, so it's a little something different. If I want to hoop while I'm shuffling, I can do that. If I want to use my fans, I can do that. Just like being multifaceted, I guess.
Question on that. Do you think maybe with your arm flow, like your upper body type, because you've seen it like with people who might not have had any dance background and are just trying to shuffle and then like haven't picked up a flow art, they're really stiff with their upper body and they're really focusing on their footwork. But I feel like maybe if you've done the flow arts and you've kind of gave your subconscious permission to move about your arms however you feel is comfortable to you, I think perhaps like that would be a barrier that you've already gotten over with while you're starting to learn shuffling. I would like to see your initial shuffling videos and see like what your arm work was. Okay.
It didn't help. It didn't help. Jorge used to make fun of me, actually. I can't remember with who. I think it was MK. And he used to say I had dinosaur arms because I had this one hand that would just go like this when I was shuffling. And it was only one of them.
Only the one?
It was only one.
The other one was doing something really beautiful.
The other one's just like, but this one's just like this. And so, no, I don't think it necessarily helped me. I think because I was used to using my arms and then I was focusing on my feet, I was like, fuck, I gotta focus on my feet now. Like, now I don't know what to do. And so my brain is like, I haven't done this since I was like in dance. Now I gotta just focus. And even in dance, I always had a hard time with my arms. So it might just be a me thing too. So I don't really know, but I definitely had weird arms.
Fair enough. I was trying to draw a correlation in that. But yeah, I mean, so with that, like, it seems like it did help you in some capacity. And it's one of those things where I feel like with flow arts, you constantly, just like shuffling, you constantly have like goals and aspirations to get better. And so with flow, like with all the disciplines that you've had with flow arts, whether that be the fans or the hoops, name whatever else, like you have we were flowing with some poi fan type things as well. Do you set goals for yourself, or do you aspire to be at a certain level and really kind of like train for that? Or is this something that you kind of do just to really enjoy the music and to be able to have, like I said, that in your back pocket when you go to a festival, in the case where you don't want to shuffle or do whatever else? Like, how disciplined are you in your flow arts?
I don't think I'm necessarily that disciplined. I feel like whenever I start doing things, I'm like, okay, I want to learn this, and this, and like I want to learn all these combos and do all these things, and like I feel like that burns me out more than anything, and then I just get kind of tired of it. I don't know if it's just how my brain works and I just need to keep doing things. I don't know. But I definitely think that I've plateaued a lot more than I've wanted to discipline myself. I like to just kind of have a free-flowing nature when it comes to learning things, so I don't, I guess, burn myself out from it. But I've definitely will have goals of if there's a move I want to learn, I'll try to learn it. But it's not all of the time. Same thing with shuffling. I feel like I kind of take things when I see them. If I see a move that I like, I'm like, oh, I'll ask that person how they did that, or I'll go to a class or whatever that is, and I want to learn it, or I'll screen record something and play it back. But it's not a constant need to evolve. It kind of is just a natural, I'm doing this because I love it, and there's nothing wrong with trying to learn, obviously. I commend anybody that does that. But I feel like it's just harder for me. And if I am gonna do that, I'd want to be taking classes for it. It's hard to discipline myself, I guess. I need somebody to just yank my arm and make me do things sometimes. But yeah.
Well, you were saying today, once we've already filmed your showcase, and one of the things that you said once you were done with it was this inspired me. You know what I mean? I want to start doing this more. And it sounded like you maybe have taken a little bit of a hiatus from it, but I think it's those types of data points, whether it's you're doing a showcase or you're at a show and you get inspiration, that'll trigger you to be okay, I want to go on Instagram and I want to look at my favorite flow artists and see what they're doing and maybe emulate them and whatnot. So I think sometimes you don't choose where you get your inspiration from and where you get that kick in the ass to start, progressing with it, especially when you hit plateaus. That can be tough. That can be tough to maneuver through. So, and yet we were talking about this a little bit offline, that you did take a little bit of a hiatus. What do you think that was attributed to? And are you kind of back on the upswing with it?
I think, honestly, it was shuffling.
That's valid.
Yeah,
That's valid.
Yeah, when I talked to you about Kiyomi, I was teaching her how to hoop and everything, and as soon as I put my hoop down and started using my feet, I was just like, oh, this is awesome. Like, I want to learn more of this. And, like, I was still doing both hand in hand for a while, especially, like, going to festivals and stuff. Like, I always brought my hoops with me when I would go, like, Lost Lands or Electric Forest. Like, they're usually connected to me in some way. But, yeah, since then, and that was before COVID, and so I've definitely, like, taken a long break from hooping actively, at least. During, like, the pandemic, I definitely still was hooping and flowing and, like, using my levi wands and just, like, here and there, but never really having sessions. And then I took, like, a little bit of some time, like, when I moved back home. I actually, like, had posted a few hooping videos. I was practicing more frequently when I was back home in Illinois. And that's probably, like, the last time that I, like, was actively going out and, like, making sure that I was practicing and, like, watching videos and recording myself and just kind of, like, being in tune. And I don't know, I've just been in another one of those, like, weird, like, timelines where I'm just not as connected to it, and, like, it just takes moments like this where I'm like, oh wow, like, I love doing this. This is what, like, brought me into this community in the first place, like, weirdly enough. So, like, I need to pick it back up. Like, I love doing it. It's not like I hate it or anything. I'm like, screw hula hooping now. Like, it's just, like, one of those things where I kind of just forget, like, my roots, I guess. And I just need to remind myself sometimes, so.
Understood. Well, yeah, hopefully this whole experience, pushes you in that direction, because you can do both. I feel like you can do flow arts, you can shuffle, you can do all of the above. It's very... the possibilities of, you know, picking up multiple disciplines of this while working on your shuffling, you're able to do that. You know what I mean? Especially in a festival setting and things like that.
I see people do it all the time too. So I'm like, I know I can. I just could get hyper fixated on things, I think, as well. So, like, shuffling is that for me right now. Like, I just love, like, there's just more events that I go to as well that I feel like I'm more aimed to shuffle at. And I feel like that's a big part of why I've kind of, like, moved away from hooping, because I'm not going to a lot of those, like, dubstep or, like just, like, that community.
Yeah, more bassy.
Yeah, more bassy. And so, like, that's where I felt more inclined to, like, do that, because you can't shuffle there. So I'm like, I'll just pick my hoop. But, you know, like, it's just a lot different. And so if my feet want to move, I'm going to move them.
Yeah. No, and that there's something to say about just intuition about, you know, how you want to express yourself to the music. And just so you know, like, even though, you might have taken a hiatus and stuff, like, I didn't necessarily see that when you did your showcase. I think you did a great job. So, it was awesome. You are very talented. So, but regarding the whole showcase, I'm sure the audience wants to get to it, but I have 3 more questions that I have for you. So this is the Shuffle Curious 3 and out.
Another one.
So these are some of the questions that you were able to prepare for that I shared with you beforehand, and we'll see. This will not be the last flow showcase, so I will ask other flow artists about these questions, and we'll see how yours rack and stack with theirs. So the first question that I have for you is, what is your favorite genre to flow to?
I think future bass is one of my favorites. So, like, I used to go to, like, Millennium shows, or, like, even, like, Seven Lions, if you'd, like, classify him more like future bass, or, like, Said the Sky, like, stuff like that. Kind of like sad boy music.
Yeah,
like,
melodic bass.
Yeah, I definitely, like, love that genre. I actually like to flow to, like, progressive house a lot too, which I found out recently because I was flowing with my fans, and I was like, whoa, like, this feels nice. But definitely that's mainly where I started, and, like, weird bass music, like, just experimental dubstep, I think, is, like, also a fun one, because there's so many weird noises that you can experiment with that are kind of hard to just dance to, and so like, having a toy is just, like, it makes it easier to do that too.
I can see that with with your fans or whatever. You were finding musicalities, and you were like finding a way, almost like emulating like a waveform from the music, like you're doing with your fans. And I was like, oh, what the, like, yeah, it was
musicality on 10.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to like, because I see musicality through shuffling, and it's very much like a limb doing it, or the whole body, or a couple limbs, performing that musicality. But it's cool to do it with a prop, you know what I mean? And you're essentially doing the same thing, but like that's the extension of yourself.
Actually see it like a waveform in the music, like with the fans or with the hoop, like just because of how it's moving or like the diagonal that it's going. Like you can play a lot with musicality with those flow toys a lot more than we can with our bodies, which we can obviously, like you just said, we see shufflers do it all the time. But it's a lot easier, I think, just having the toy. It's just like, oh, like, look at that, I just hit that note.
Yeah, I saw it today. No, it's really cool. So the next question I have for you is, what is your favorite instance where you were flowing? That can be a set, it can be a festival, it could be in your backyard.
I think, okay, I have two of them.
Send it.
Okay, so the first time I ever saw 7 Lions was at Electric Forest. I was in the back of the crowd. There was this big open space. Like, it looked like there was a circle just meant for me. And I was like, I'm going to go stand in the middle of that circle and I'm going to dance. And I have a few videos. My friends were sitting back and, like, were recording me. I didn't know. And I have a few videos from that set. And, like, I feel like that was, like, one of the best flow states I've, like, ever entered, like, out of any of the things that I do. Like, it was just so natural. And then another one was also at Forest. It was during the Floozies, actually, and it's like more of like a funky vibe. And I was
is that a jam band? Or?
Yeah, they're more of like a jam band. They do like funk, like I guess like funkadelic is like the way I would describe it. But I love them. They're so awesome. But I just absolutely adore those guys. And it was the first set that I saw of theirs, and I was so excited. I was like, I get to bring my hoop. I had my LED hoop, and it was at night. And the musicality, I have videos actually I can like send to you from that set, and just the musicality of like how in tune I was with the music in itself at that set was just like, it was perfect.
Dude, send me those. Yeah, we'll put them in the show notes. That'll be dope. Last question that I have for you. Oh, thank you for sharing those. Like I'm sure it resonated with you, and those seemed to be a long time ago.
Yeah.
So the fact that you remembered them, you know what I mean? It must have been special.
Yeah.
So, last question that I have for you, perhaps unrelated to flow arts and shuffling, but I don't think so, because I think when we participate in these disciplines, it's always like a self-development tool for us, So the question that I have for you is, what advice would you give to your younger self? And you can place whatever age you want on that. It could be a year ago, it could be your 12-year-old self, whoever. But what advice would you give yourself?
Stop judging yourself. We already kind of talked about this, like at Cheeseman, and just like even when I just got here, like I feel like we get caught in our egos a lot and think of all of these external sources that are out to get us. And it's, in reality, it's not true. And like, I feel like that's what prevents me especially, but a lot of other people from doing the things that they love, because they're judging like, oh, what will people think? Or like, that's stupid, or like whatever those limiting beliefs are. That's been something I've battled with for a really long time. And finally, like finding these things has been so helpful to finding myself again. So definitely just stop judging yourself and keep making the dinosaur comments and keep making your weird YouTube videos. Just keep doing it. And eventually you'll come to like what you're supposed to do and you'll figure it out.
Hell yeah. And for anyone who doesn't know, well, just listen to Ariah's episode. It's episode 11? Did we? Yeah.
10, 11?
10.
I can't remember.
No, it was 9. It was
9. We're off.
No, it was 10. It was 10. Listen to episode 10. I'll put it in the show notes as well. But Ariah was a weird kid.
Yeah. They witnessed that a lot. That movement now too. God.
But thank you so much for being on again and showcasing, expressing yourself on the show. I think it was very special what we did today. And shout out to Jenna as well for filming everything and putting her artistic twist on, what you presented as well. It was very cool to be a fly on the wall for that and to see you, like years of you practicing this craft, doing it, out in nature, we're in front of some flowers and stuff like that. So yeah, no, it was very cool to see, and I'm very pumped to see how it turns out. So, but for those who are listening now, this will be Ariah Dix's showcase, first flow showcase on the Shuffle Curious podcast. Enjoy.